So back with me today, after being interrupted by President Biden yesterday, is the chair of the House Progressive Caucus, Washington Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. I went through an entire question and then had to interrupt you. But I'll ask the same question I was asking then. What's wrong with doing the bipartisan bill now?
Well, Chuck, it's good to see you. And I'm always happy to be interrupted by the president when he's talking about lowering prescription drug prices, which, of course, is in the Build Back Better reconciliation package. So listen, the deal has always been the Democratic agenda, President Biden's agenda that he laid out to the House in February and that we all ran on and won on. And so what we have always said is progressives are absolutely committed to delivering on the entire agenda, because if we create jobs through an infrastructure package, that's great. But if we don't allow women to get childcare, they don't get those jobs. If we don't allow people to get free community college and trade school education, they don't get those jobs. So if we are going to build back better, we have to do all of these things at the same time, because the urgency is so real. The need for childcare, the need for paid leave care, and of course, addressing climate change, given the IPCC's report that just came out, this is not something that can wait around. So we want to deliver both bills to the president in September and have him sign them into law so we deliver for the American people.
Is there a trust issue here? I mean, do you fear that if somehow the bipartisan deal, let's say Speaker Pelosi on August 23rd, you come back and says, all right, I'll bring it up, let's go. Do you somehow fear moderates are going to walk away from you on the bigger bill?
Yeah, Chuck, you know how D.C. works. Everything works on timelines and everything works on making sure people have urgency and momentum to move quickly. The best way to keep the urgency and momentum up is to do both bills together and to make sure that everyone understands that whatever their priority is, whether it's in the infrastructure bill or whether it's in the Build Back Better reconciliation package, the way we get them done is to move them at the same time to the president's desk. Without that, you're going to have a lot of people trying to push for one piece and not voting for another piece. And that's true of progressives, but it's also true of Democrats who might not want to. One more thing, Chuck, I got to say, we can't call people moderate Democrats who vote against child care, paid leave, and addressing climate change. That is a Democratic agenda. It is the president's agenda, and it's what we promised.
Well, it sounds like if these Democrats decide essentially not to support the framework in August, and they follow through on this threat, it sounds like relationships inside the conference would break apart pretty badly. Is that your sense?
It would be a very bad breach of trust, because, of course, this is what the president said. This is what Senator Schumer said. This is what Nancy Pelosi said from the beginning, is we are delivering on all of these things. Progressives have been very clear for 3 months. Nobody should be surprised that we did not oppose the bipartisan bill moving forward just on a tiny piece of jobs, because we knew that there was a commitment to doing the whole thing. Now, the other folks need to be willing to go along with the team and deliver on the reconciliation package so that we can deliver the entire package. So that, and this is just a really important point, Chuck. We are talking about people feeling differently about their lives, their livelihoods, and their opportunity, knowing that they can get childcare, paid, go to community college, and address the climate crisis. This is absolutely critical.
Congresswoman, you were not here during battle, but I'm watching a phenomenon develop with the reconciliation bill that's similar to, which is the parts are popular. The individual ideas in reconciliation are very popular. They poll very well. But the overall package doesn't poll as well. Perhaps it's the price tag. Perhaps it's confusion about what's in it. How do you avoid that similar political problem that Democrats ran into with? Eventually, they were right. The parts were popular. We are where we are today 10 years later, but it caused a lot of political pain in that process. How do you avoid that here?
You know, Chuck, I just looked at polling this morning. The most recent polling is that the reconciliation package, the Build Back Better package, is almost just as popular. It's a few points less than the jobs package, but it's quite remarkable. And people do not mind. They are not put off by the price tag. And I'll tell you something else. We're talking about $3.5 trillion for this reconciliation package. But at the end of the day, of course, the wealthiest individuals, the billionaires and millionaires and the biggest corporations are going to pay their fair share. And the actual amount that is spent on this package is going to be, if we had our way, zero. And I think it's going to be very, very small. So don't forget that Americans, the popularity of this package gets even higher when we are clear that we're going to make wealthy pay their fair share.
That was Ms. Jayapal. Now, that last part there are pay-fors for both infrastructure bills. So when we're looking at this, if it's a situation you're looking at that top line number and saying 3.5 trillion, well, if you do have pay-fors, then it's not something that's going to be added on to our debt. So that's a good thing. Now, we'll have to just follow it and see, because she kind of, the way she was talking there is, it looks like most will be paid for, but some of it might not be paid for. So we're going to have to find those fine details out in the future. But nonetheless, 3.5 trillion, that amount, some of it will have pay-fors. And so, or the vast majority of it, let's just say, will be paid for. Now, we spend money. The government spends money all the time on a variety of different things. Every year we're spending money, and a lot of that money doesn't have, you don't have pay for. So they're just adding it to the debt. But this is one of those situations where if they raise the corporate tax rate, which is probably what they're going to do, then it looks like they're going to have pay-fors. Now, there's something else I want to talk about when it comes to the infrastructure bill, the first infrastructure bill and the second infrastructure bill. Now, you remember 3-4 months ago when they were talking about they want this big bill, and they wanted to combine it, just put it together and just do one bill instead of breaking it up and having a bipartisan bill and then having the second infrastructure bill, which would be the reconciliation bill. They just wanted to do one big, large bill that was a reconciliation bill, and the Democrats would go ahead and move it through. They could put whatever they wanted in this bill. Well, now you're in a situation where you've opened up this bipartisan bill. You let Republicans come in and kind of tinker with it. So you have Democrats and Republicans negotiating things in and negotiating things out. So now you have this one bill, and now you have some moderate Democrats saying, look, moderate Democrats in the House saying, look, we're not going to move forward with the second bill until we focus on the first one. And so now it's one big mess. And the only person that I can think of right now that can change the trajectory of these two bills and this issue that we're dealing with is the president. President Biden's going to have to talk to both sides. He's going to have to talk to the moderates. He's going to have to talk to the progressives and say, look, we need this. This is big. I mean, the first infrastructure bill, that is a huge accomplishment if they can get this through. And so he's going to have to talk to both sides. And President Biden, he's pretty good at talking with both sides. You see how he was talking with the Republicans, and they came to an agreement with this first infrastructure bill. But he's going to have to come out and get this going, because at this point right now, you have a split. You have a split in the Democratic Party, and ultimately it's going to hurt all of us.